G'day, guys. Welcome back to the GDS NBL podcast. As always, I'm joined by two beautiful, beautiful humans. I've got Supercoach Boz and my man Verns. Boys, what a week of NBL. I didn't see too much basketball myself, but I know for the two of you, absolute NBL basketball heads, it would have been a pretty big one. Boz, how you feeling this week, mate? We'll talk about how you went in GDS, but how's your week been to date in general, buddy?
Yeah, week to date's been great. I'm on school holidays as I'm a teacher, so just kind of taking every day as it comes and just relaxing. And had a really good weekend watching the AFL Grand Final as well. So congrats to you and the Brizzy Lions.
Thank you very much. I was not going to mention that because this is an NBL podcast, but still over the moon and on a bit of a high. Vernsy, your boys did it to us a couple of years back in the AFL, but tell us, were you happy to see the Lions get up or more of a Geelong type operator this weekend, mate?
Yeah, no, I definitely wanted Brisbane to win, and I definitely think the odds were against them. You know, a lot of people are putting Geelong as the favourites. Brisbane, I feel like, had a really hard matchup with us last week where, like, obviously Berry got injured, and it was a very physical game where it's like it felt very wearing on both teams, where honestly I was sitting there halfway through the game going, I think just Geelong's the winner from this outcome, no matter who gets up sort of thing. But yeah, for you boys to bounce back even after that, and what a fourth quarter, just insane and well-deserved.
Thank you very, very much. It is what dreams are made of for supporters. And even I think the most optimistic supporters going into the game couldn't have really dreamt of a result like that. So we'll absolutely take that with both hands, my brother. But we are here for GDS, as we said, the NBL. And look, I'm off to an okay sort of start at this stage, boys. I'm really focusing on the starter comp. And then I'm also playing the contender comp, but just with bronze cards at the moment. So for contender, I was 78th for the week, 89th overall. Starter doing a little bit better, was 31st for the week, 35 overall. So I'm not complaining too much there. Still some time to try to crack into that top 20. But Boz, we'll go to you next. Heard you've been communicating on the Discord, wheeling and dealing, and really starting to build up your squad and even cracking into the classic competition as we speak, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple of shout outs I want to make first before I even go into my rankings, because this Discord chat that we have going for the GDS community is amazing. I mean, before I even put my hand up and asked for any trades, you know, there's that trading kind of table tab where, you know, pretty much anyone is just saying, you know, has anyone got, for example, a Bryce Cotton up their sleeve, or has anyone got Nathan Sobey or whatever it might be? And like within 30 seconds, you're getting a reply from someone. So I want to give a massive shout out to Saw Play Zone's Janath, but also Ganners, Stephen, Danny D, and Cash Money, because all five of those legends, they jumped in the DMs for me when I was in need and really helped me out with some really great silver and gold players. So I really want to, you know, shout those guys out, because that's really enabled me now to kind of put up some really strong, obviously classic, but starter, but classic and contender teams. So for me this week, it was great. I came 23rd in starter. I managed to get 14th in contender with a couple of cheeky silvers and golds up my sleeve. I think a JLA, which we'll touch on a bit later. I actually also got 18th in classic. So look, almost there, almost getting in the top 5 there for the big prizes, but super, super close. And look, it really was only picking Xavier Cooks that kind of left me undone there. I'm sure we'll touch on Xavier a bit later. But yeah, super happy with how I've gone this week, but hopefully I can continue that hot form.
That's amazing. And firstly, the whole community side of things, just new to the game, really getting involved with the community, getting some nice cards, gifted, traded, all the rest. He gave some shout outs to some absolute legends there. But remember, mate, this was meant to be just a bit of a starter's journey type season for you. All of a sudden, you're getting top 15 in classic. Like, come on, slow down a little bit, Boz. Just goes to show how quickly, as we were saying to you when we first got you on board, how quickly you can actually get involved in these competitions. You can start from nothing much and get some gold into your side quite quickly and really start to contend in more than just the starter competition. So absolutely stoked for you there, mate. And I think those good cards, along with your knowledge, is going to set you up already for an absolute cracker in all three of those formats, mate. Vernsy, how about yourself? Are you rolling in the classic? Like, mate, are you seeing the same sort of results?
No, definitely not. I mean, I was meant to be coming in as the guy that did this last season and had a bit of an upper hand, but I am having a slow start. You both definitely outperformed me this week. Starter, I think I got 26th, so it wasn't the worst.
Hey,
But
good.
contender, it absolutely blew up. I got 118th. I did run Xavier Cook with the 19, Mason Jones with a 9, Jalen Galloway picked up a 10 as a gold. Yeah, things just went really, really poor this week for me. I don't actually own a Jack McVeigh, who's obviously gone really big for a lot of people too. And I didn't play my silver Dylan Winder, who went massive this week after scoring me a 14 last week. So, yeah, just really missing the mark at the moment, which has hurt.
It can happen from week to week. As we know, with all types of fantasy that we play, from the AFL, NBL, if you're a soccer type man, whatever you're playing, we can all have weeks like this, Verns. But the great thing is, this week, different week. You can completely scrap the side if you like, start from scratch with the big squad that you've got. So let's just put last week behind us and start to focus in on this week, my man, because I'm sure that some good results are coming your way. But I thought we'd better start off, boys, by taking a look at some of our matchups and some of our games from last week. And the one that we're going to start off with here is from two teams that actually have the bye this week, and that is United and the Phoenix. So this week in particular, I don't think that we're not going to be including any of these fellas in our squads. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you remove every United and Sem player that you have and replace them with anyone else from any other team that is actually playing. But boys, before we just skip over this, is there anything that you want to discuss in relation to this game that you think may impact not this week, but maybe the week after? Any big takeaways from this one?
I would say John Brown's really good. He showed in week 1 of Game Day Squad, 71 points, 48 this week, or 46, I'm blind. But he's good. He's going to score the basket, probably overshooting at the moment for someone that's more of a defensive style player, and maybe that's not what Sem wants. But I think they are maybe lacking a little bit offensively. But yeah, so many steals each game, so many blocks, all the rebounds. Yeah, he's just a really, really good pick. Someone I wish we saw a bit more in preseason of. I did get a few of him and didn't roll him out week 1 and didn't roll him out week 2, and really regretting that.
Week 4, Vernsy. Boz, any takeaways from this game yourself, Legend?
I think for me, the takeaway is Milton Doyle probably isn't the GDS kind of gem that we might think he is. I think he's a very good basketballer and he's helped them win, and start the season 3-0 for Melbourne United. But I think his stat set doesn't really suit, I don't think, the GDS style at the moment. He's a high turnover guy, and turnovers do rack up quite quickly and kill you. He doesn't really get defensive stats. I mean, he did have 2 steals in the previous game, but I think before that he didn't really have any in round 1. And at the moment, he's only, I think we're kind of seeing the door we saw in Tasmania, where he's not super aggressive. Like, he'll only shoot when he kind of has to. So he's not getting over that 20 points a game. I think he's just not getting enough avenues to score this year. Still an awesome player, and I'm sure he'll be in that kind of top 10 overall NBL player by the season's end. I just don't think at the moment he's showing that he's going to be a GDS scorer. And I think that might be because they have Walker, they have Edwards, they have Shea Illy. I don't think they need too much from him. So, if a couple of these guys go down, Doyle could be a really, really sneaky, maybe kind of pod play. Because I think a few people will be a bit wary of playing him moving forward because he hasn't really got over, I think, 35 points for the season just yet.
It's a good shout, mate, because particularly for the people that are new to GDS and maybe those people that have watched the NBL for the last couple of years, Milton Doyle by name sounds like such a great pick, doesn't he? And he's done some really good things in the past, but we need to look at this objectively as a GDS scorer, not as a player necessarily, as a GDS scorer. And unlike Supercoach, for example, and I know that I'm going to AFL there's no scaling points for massive impact. And we know that Doyle's that type of bloke that can really give you that important 3 or 2 when you need it. But yeah, maybe this season, someone to maybe avoid with your silvers and your golds. If you're desperate, look to put a bronze out, but that's a really good call there, mate. Love that. All right, on to the next game here. And we've got the Taipans and the Bullets. Now, Taipans 83, Bullets 82, a very, very close one. Both teams actually had the double this week. Cairns recording the 2 wins, Brisbane recording the 2 losses. But it's McVeigh, isn't it, boys? 19 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, only the 1 turnover for 70 points, the clear BOG here. For the Bullets, no surprise that Harrison, Prather, JFL was solid. Both Freeman Liberty and Prather had 4 personals. Harrison was nice and clean in that area. Just the 1. You had Adams with 6 assists and 12 points for 32 GDS, but nothing too spectacular. Vernsy, you mentioned it before. You don't actually own a McVeigh card, so that's a little bit harsh at the moment. I think he's someone we definitely need to get a hold of, but is he the real big talking point coming out of this game, do you think, mate?
100%. I mean, look, I think Cairns in general, after their week 1, almost 50-point loss to Southeast Melbourne, I think everyone just sort of sat there and went, yep, they're a bunny team. Anyone playing against them, pick players. It's that simple. And then this week they come out in 2-0, which was, pretty insane. Huge shout to Pleb. We obviously love our boy Pleb, but he actually had tipped Cairns to get the upset win here. And oh, man, I should just listen to everything that man says.
Boz, main takeaway, is there anything apart from McVeigh here that we really need to be getting excited about?
Definitely. I think in terms of fantasy or GDS, Brisbane only literally have a 7-man rotation. So their coach, there's already been things on Twitter about how bad he is at coaching. But the one thing he does well for fantasy is he barely makes subs. So he rolls Harrison, Freeman Liberty, obviously in that first game, Prather and Adams. They all roll out there for over 30-plus minutes a game. And that's really important in terms of racking up fantasy points. So, even when JFL went down, in that second game, I think he still only brought 2 or 3 players off the bench. So if we're looking at, and obviously Sam McDaniel, I see you scroll down on the page here now, Sam McDaniel went down injured as well. And look, all we can see is Jack Purchase. Shout out Jack Purchase, went to high school with him, by the way, for a couple of years. But nice. He came off the bench for his first minutes of the season. But apart from that, no one really else stood up. So the thing I took out of this is I'm happy to roll Brisbane's big 2 to 3 in most of their games because they are only rolling a 7-man rotation. Now, if I had to rank them, Harrison's number 1. I think he shows he can score in multiple ways, especially the offensive rebounding, steals and blocks. That's really going to boost your score. I would probably go JFL second. He's shown that he's just more than a pure scorer. I think that was the kind of notion of him coming into the league. He's just going to score the ball, but he's putting up great assist numbers, steals. Like that game there, he was on for like a 70. He got 4 turnovers or something like 2 turnovers and 4 fouls or something. So that really killed his ability there to score. Prather is probably the third, although he's only really scoring at the moment. He's not doing too much else consistently. And I don't know what's going on with Adams. Adams, he should be scoring more than 30 points. GDS, he should be. He is so much better than that. But at the moment, he just the last couple of seasons in the NBL, he just goes through the motions a bit. So he's one I'm actually starting to not really trust. But Harrison and JFL, I would just plug them into your side every single week because they'll play 30-plus minutes easily.
Great call, because there are some teams that go a little bit differently about their rotations and don't have necessarily that really solid 7. So really good call out there, mate, because sometimes you are a little bit worried when you see a few of the same jerseys sitting on field for you. But that's a nice call because with this particular team, nice and tight with the rotations. And that's what we want to see. You want to see some consistency with our scoring. So great call out there, mate. All right, here we go. The Breakers and the Wildcats. Life without our man, Bryce Cotton. Now, Boz, I remember very early on, you were talking about this man, Dylan Windler, sitting right up the top here with 62 points. So I think that is a brilliant shout out. But New Zealand 78, Perth 89. For the Wildcats, it was your boy, mate. It was Windler, along with JLA, who top scored with 62. And then we had 58 from JLA. But most impressive for me with Windler was those 6 offensive rebounds. They are like gold when it comes to GDS, different in other formats, but offensive rebounds is where it's at. That is absolutely elite from Windler. So I love that. Second highest scorer for his team, only one behind JLA. So big kudos to him. PJC and Lopez top score for the Breakers, but modest scores of 36 and 28. So Boz, I'll send this one straight to you, mate. What can you tell us about the Breakers and the Perth Wildcats? Any big takeaways or disappointments from your end, brother?
New Zealand are a team to target. So if we're looking at schedule play and, when we get into these rounds where there are more games being played and you have to really be strategic, I think if you have a player that's coming up against New Zealand, I wouldn't be afraid to play them because there's some monster scores being scored against them. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they have the firepower. Brockington has been a shadow of himself from the Blitz, but there's always a player every year that kind of does a lot in the Blitz and then doesn't really do much during the season. The other import, Baker, doesn't do much. PJC carries the team essentially. Lopez will be really good, but just target them. I'm looking at the schedule this week and they have Sydney, and I'm sure we'll touch on this a bit later, but I'm going to target some Sydney players this week, I think. And then in terms of Perth, just really quickly, I don't want to take the spotlight from Verns, but yeah, my call on Windler's paid off 1 week, but if we think back to last week, he didn't really do much. So this is what I expect more from Windler. I think he just wasn't really getting the shots in that first round, but the big thing for me is his rebounding. He's had games in the past where he's actually, in the G League, he had a 20 rebound game. So it's not like this 15 rebound game that he notched up is a surprise. He is a small forward with length that can rebound the ball. And that's why I thought he would be such a good asset, because he also scores, hits the three, and loves getting a steal or block as well. So, yeah, target New Zealand, and I trust the majority of the Perth boys.
Beautiful summation, mate. Vernsy, takeaways from the game.
Yeah, I think, as you said, New Zealand just do not look good right now, unfortunately. Definitely a team to target. I don't think Perth are looking great from what we've seen so far. But yeah, JLA is just fantasy gold. He is on the field, getting points, getting rebounds, just doing everything you really want from a big man. Windler, I'm very salty about Windler personally, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. But I think we are from this game. But I love we are from this game. For anyone that watched this game, from an entertainment factor, when he started hitting those threes and keeping the game interesting, that was so entertaining, and something that we didn't see from Liafa last year in Sydney. He did that previously in New Zealand. We used to think this guy was the 3-and-D guy and a top elite of the NBL, and then last year we just didn't see it. He's come back to New Zealand. Game 1 we didn't see it. Game 2 we hadn't quite seen it, and then everything gelled in this game. He was just on fire. You see it as well with that 3 steals as well. He's getting steals. He's hitting threes, and then hitting threes allows him to get assists because you have to respect the 3 ball. So, yeah, I loved seeing that from Liafa. But, yeah, New Zealand players, I don't even know if I'm going to touch any of them in my team at the moment because I have little to no faith in them going forward.
Well, definitely a target for the schedule. Something very, very important, particularly with game day squad as well. All right, boys, let's get on to the next one. And it is the Hawks and the Jackies. I'll get this a little bit lower here. And we're going to have a few questions in our new mailbag segment for the week. I forgot to mention that straight up as well. Boz has got some fantastic questions to come through. I think we've got 10 or 11 that we will go through and answer for you in a little while. But, boys, McGee, what a monster this bloke is. Welcomed himself into league with a nice alley, slamming it down. And that was just the start. The spin, the one-hand dunk, this is sight to behold. 32 points through his efforts, which was a clear game high. Looked to ragdoll Magnay at times, send a little Bannon jumper a couple of rows back, had 3 blocks in total. Some very important offensive rebounds. There are a couple there, but both of them I think were in really crucial stages of the game and had 13 rebounds in total. So, look, tell me about this man, McGee. He's an absolute freak. Are we expecting this week on, week out, or is this just he's come into the league, had a once off, and we're not going to see anything like this again? Boz, what do you think about McGee?
Definitely for the short term. I mean, they don't really have any offensive punch. And I think we spoke about it in our first podcast, like kind of that preseason one. Their roster is a shadow of itself from last year. Like, I mean, it's not a shadow of itself, but, you know, they had Trey Cal, who was that ball handler, distributor, scorer, whereas now they've kept their pieces in terms of, their, Todd Blanchfield, who I see there. They've kept Will Hickey, who was out, but they lack that third import, that Jaquiri McLaughlin. I don't think he's much chop compared to Trey Cal. So McGee has to do a lot. And I think he'll continue to do a lot until maybe Will Hickey comes back and takes more of an offensive role. But I really don't see JaVale McGee. I don't expect him to get 32 and 13 with 3 steals, 3 blocks every week. But he definitely needs to at least double-double every week and hopefully get a couple of blocks. And we know that in GDS, getting a couple of blocks, and if 10 of those rebounds, 5 of them are offensive, that's already nearly 30 points. So, yeah, McGee's a decent option, to be honest. And I think the only one else I would trust there is Tyler Harvey. I honestly don't trust anyone else on that roster. I do trust Will Hickey, but yet to obviously see him play because he's been injured.
Yeah, well, Harvey and Blanchfield, they were the next best of the Hawks, weren't they? 43 points apiece, both scoring through some multiple avenues there. Verns, what are your thoughts on McGee, mate?
Yeah, I mean, Illawarra just looks so lost offensively. They look so lost. Their offense is he seals down low and they throw the ball up high for him. There's a reason McLaughlin got 6 assists. He just threw the ball up to McGee down low and he just got 3 points. Like,
that was a play.
Yeah, look, McGee, he generally was a monster inside. Like, he was a force to be reckoned with. Now, if he just had I don't want to be rude and say he has a team around him, but if he just had something else on that team going for them, then you could really take advantage of this. Tyler Harvey was really the only other guy putting the ball in the hole, and he was getting locked down pretty hard. We always talk about Tasmania being a good defensive team. They were definitely focused on with locking down McGee, we're locking down Harvey, and Tasmania managed to run away with the W here because of it. Will he replicate it? I think there's a good chance he will at this current stage because offensively, I don't know if they have other avenues right now. Throw it up and let him do his thing. Teams will get used to that. They'll start doubling him. Maybe he kicks out and he gets assists that way and he gets bonus points. That would be cool. The other thing is they also play this. They're playing a 2-3 zone, which is wild. You never see 2-3 zones in like high level basketball, but they're playing a 2-3 zone and daring Tasmania basically shoot threes. And Tasmania, they hit a few. I remember Deng hitting, I think, a couple. And Drimmick is obviously very good from the 3-point line as well. I think Hamilton maybe had 1 or 2 as well. Campbell, super sad about Campbell. Last week I backed him in on the double game week. Didn't quite work out. This week he pops off with 42. Obviously Johnson's out, so it means he has to take a bit more of the reign. And as you see there, 3 threes from him. He was definitely taking on the offense more, which was great to see. But even Tasmania, which if I look at on paper, I don't think they're the biggest 3-point threat, and they were getting wide open 3-point shots and just punishing them for it, sort of thing. This 2-3 zone, I don't see this working going forward. Next week against Perth, how many points is Windler going to get off 3 balls? How many points is Henschel going to get? Pepper going to get? They're going to get torched from the outside if they play another 2-3 like they did. Obviously, it works great for McGee because he stands under the ring and any 3-point missed, it's a free rebound for him. So, that's great. It's just, I think in the short term, he'll be fine because I think they'll probably let this 2-3 run for a little bit before they realize you can't do this. And I think this week, actually going into Illawarra, you can target those 3-point shooters because I think they're going to get a lot of easy buckets.
Oh, some nice strategy there. I like it. Now, Boz, how about some of the jackies here? Bryce Hamilton, been really impressive GDS-wise lately.
I think Bryce Hamilton's been just really impressive across the whole NBL, to be honest. He's he's definitely in, top 5 performers so far this season. And Verns kind of touched on it. David Johnson, their other import, who looked really, really solid in their first outing, actually did a calf at training. So he's going to be out for 4 weeks. Jackies, I think they're trying to find a replacement, but Pleb, I think, reported that they don't think it'll be another import. So it might just be like a local player they get in just to kind of cover some minutes if needed, which means that Hamilton's their number 1 offensive option. They're going to play everything through him. So for the next 4 weeks, he's an unbelievable option, I think, in my opinion. Yeah. I actually didn't start him on the weekend until I found out Will Hickey was out. If I didn't know that Will Hickey was out in this game, I would have played Hickey just for the potential. And I'm glad I didn't, because I ended up having to put Hamilton in. And I kind of, obviously, as you know, I ranked quite well. And I think he had a lot of reason as to why I did rank so well. Because I think a lot of people, seeing that he wasn't on the double, may have neglected to keep him in their side for this week. But yeah, moving forward, lock Hamilton in. He's a weapon.
I agree. He's someone that I didn't have in my squad week 1, but certainly rectified that last couple of weeks. And really looking forward to seeing what he can continue to produce. So he'd be the man I'd be really targeting from the Jackies if you're looking to do that. All right, and we've got 2 more to cover before we check out this week's matches, and it was the Kings versus the Taipans, and we had the Kings 74, Taipans 77, so a pretty close one here. McVeigh top scored again with 54 GDS. Andrews had the 44 GDS points. And for the Kings, it was Daly, who did a little bit of everything for 50 plus, and KD with the 40 GDS points. Verns, McVeigh again, the top scorer. We both don't own him, so again, continuing to struggle. Let's talk a little bit about some of our Sydney players here. What did you think of KD's performance? Was it everything you expected or a little bit let down? What were your feelings about the way he went about it, mate?
Oh, look, it's hard to say let down. I think just because of how good KD was last year, we have such a high opinion. We know he's going to be part of the top echelon, that we see a 40-point game, we go, that's a bit unders. But, there's plenty of players that if they got a 40-point game, I'd be over the moon for, sort of things.
High standards.
Yeah, saying that, KD, it was definitely a different game with Sydney. I felt like he was working a lot for his own points. Not that he didn't previously at Adelaide, but it felt like a lot of midi J's and not really any assists. You only see, I think, 2 assists there. I don't know. I feel like previously he was such a threat, and he had obviously Harrell inside that he could get the lobs, he could get the passes, he could get the assists. But yeah, in this game, it just, I don't know, if he wasn't scoring the buckets, I felt like there wasn't much more on offer there. Obviously, 3 steals is massive as well in this game mode. That's 15 points by itself, which is something he's always done as well. So yeah, his points really made up of actually scoring the ball and then some steals, where historically he's always been a double threat with the assists, which, look, it's only 1 game, but I really didn't see the playmaking we used to see with him. Delhi, on the other hand, obviously Delhi just does Delhi's things. I can't believe he got 51. I've only just realized now he got 51, and it's just all the little things Delhi does. He's not the guy that's going to score a bunch of points. Even when he scores the bucket, he takes people down low into the block and tries to bully them, and he gets 10 points. That's nothing wrong with that. But then just everything else he does, 5 assists, 3 steals, a couple of defensive rebounds, a couple of offensive rebounds, like that's what you love to see. And I think that is sustainable for Delhi in a sense. I think he's always going to be a high assist guy. I think he'll always at least get 1 steal, and he's always someone that's hungry for a rebound. So he'll definitely find some points there. I don't think he's going to average 51 points in the year, but I think it's sustainable that he will be one of the Kings' best scorers throughout the season, which you do have to factor in. Does that affect KD in a negative way? Maybe.
Well, I'm going to switch this to Boz. Boz, if I was to ask you this week, if you had to select one of these blokes in your side, KD or Daly, are you backing in KD, or are you looking at last week and thinking, well, Daly could get the job done again? If I had to back you into a corner, only pick one, who are you picking in your side for this week?
KD, based on his ceiling, it's a lot higher than Daly's. I mean, not to show for last week, but I think we know traditionally KD is a bit more of a playmaker, and you should see those assist numbers tick up a little bit. But in saying that, it may be a new system he's playing in where they don't want him to be that facilitator. Like they generally might want Daly to be the one giving him the ball, and he's just that pure scorer. You look at his stat line there, and it generally does look like probably what we expected Freeman Liberty from Brisbane to be. Just that scorer who doesn't do a lot else, okay, besides maybe get a few steals. So, look, I wouldn't say alarm bells just yet, but there's definitely a different feel to KD being in Sydney than him in Adelaide. And I also think Daly's a part of that because Daly needs to be the facilitator. That's how he operates on the basketball court. For good reason. He's a great facilitator.
Yeah, and look, something else to add with this game as well is we're not expecting, I think we're expecting Sydney to do quite well. I'm not expecting them to lose a lot of games in reality. On top of that, their shooting from the field was atrocious. What were they, 4 from like 27 from the 3? I'm probably over-exaggerating that, but they were god-awful, like shooting percentage-wise. They could not put the ball in the bucket. I think this is the classic term of, did Cairns really beat them or did they beat themselves? Like they just couldn't score, which was crazy. And obviously, the second player starts scoring. Only 4 threes there. So I think probably over-exaggerating the 27. It's probably like 4 from like 17 or something. But still, if all of a sudden they're hitting shots, then Daly's and KD's assists will rise naturally. Maybe KD only has 2 assists because he was getting people the good shots and they just weren't dropping. I don't quite remember that happening, but it's definitely a possibility.
Now, Boz, you did mention there's no alarm bells with KD. If we look down to ex-Cooks, are there alarm bells here? What do you think about this man, Xavier Cooks? Only 18 GDS points, and to get down to him, I need to get down a fair bit here. So what do we think with Xavier Cooks? So 8 points scored, 2 offensive rebounds, the 4 defensive, 1 assist, no steals. It's not a fantastic stat line. Are you concerned about Cooks moving forward?
I don't want to be concerned, but I think I am a little bit because last season he actually was the second facilitator. So Jalen Adams was running the point. But if the ball wasn't running through Jalen Adams, it was running through Xavier Cooks. And Xavier Cooks was quite comfortably actually getting 3.5 to 4 assists a game. And that is a lot better than 1 assist. Xavier Cooks last year was a monster on the boards. Didn't really see that too much with Tim Suarez there this season. Cooks definitely shot more than 8 shots a game last season, and they looked for him a lot. But for some reason, this game, it was like they refused to pass the ball to him. I don't know what it was, and I hope that that's just the reason. It wasn't his game where he got enough touches. But I do see that Daly being there now restricts the amount of assists he's going to get. Suarez being there might limit the amount of rebounding he does. It might only be by 1 or 2 rebounds, but if it's 2 offensive rebounds a game he's missing out on, that's 6 crucial points right there. He fouls a lot, and that continued. He got 4 fouls, I think, on Sunday. So, yeah, I didn't really like what I saw. But, a player of his caliber, they know how to bounce back, and I do think he will bounce back. I would have no problem starting him this week, particularly because they're up against New Zealand. However, don't blame me if he doesn't do too well.
Vernsy, anything you want to add to the Xavier Cooks discussion?
No, I just think that was a really good shout out in the sense that, yes, he's historically been a facilitator. Even though he's the big man, he plays that sort of point guard-esque role. And that didn't really happen on the weekend. There's definitely a few times it did, but not as much as it has historically. I do think at the end of the day, Cooks, he's done this previously. We've seen him have these absolute floor games where it just doesn't do much, but then we know he has a ceiling as well. I don't think Suarez is going to affect his rebounding that much in reality. It's just one of those games where he unfortunately just didn't get involved. He's still got 6 rebounds, I'm pretty sure, there. It just, I think he'll be fine. This is just one of those classic Cooks games where he didn't show up, unfortunately, and most of the Kings didn't show up. They lost a game that I think everyone penciled in a free W for. So, just random side note too, Andrews, monster game. Game.
What's this? Don't trust a man with 2 of the first and same last name. He warrants a quick discussion. What do you think about Andrew?
Oh, definitely. No, I thought he was really good. We talked about it. Like, the reason they got smashed by Sem by 50 points is they didn't have a point guard. He's come in as a sort of veteran point guard, and everyone thought, oh, he's not to the level of Hagens, who obviously got let go. But I loved what he did in reality. I mean, obviously, you see the 7 assists there. This guy is aggressive. He is willing to shoot the ball. In his first game, when he got here, it wasn't the greatest as he airballed like his first 3 shots. But he eventually got into his groove, and it went well. This game, he was good from the word go. He hit a dagger 3 at the end of this game to seal it up. Like, yeah, I really liked what he did in reality. Yeah, he could be a genuine pick if you get your hands on him. Obviously, because he's probably just been entered into the game recently. There's very few people that have him, so he could be a very unique pod if you do get him.
I like that. The fact that you're looking at the pod factor, given the fact he's only recently been introduced, and those people that maybe been stockpiling for a while may not necessarily have their hands on one. So again, Verns, very strategic there. Even pods in GDS, beautiful, my mate. All right, the last game we're going to quickly review is this one here. And we have Adelaide 87 defeating the Bullets 80. And what a start to the season off field for the 36ers. Lots of Trez talk, and might have a question in the Q&A about what's going on with the whole Trez situation. But the focus here was all on BC. A lazy 39 points, including 6 from downtown, 6 assists, also had a steal and a few rebounds, a few turnovers as expected, but really gave the Sixers something to be happy about for now. A total of 69 GDS points. Cheatham did a little bit of everything, especially with some nice boards to finish on 61. Harrison and Prather both top scored for the Bullets again with 62 and 49. But Vernsy, what did you think about Bryce Cotton's performance?
Oh, man, there's just something special about watching the ball swish when he shoots it. It just snaps the net. It looks so beautiful. Oh, man, like the first shot he took that just daggered it, the crowd goes nuts. They're just, welcome Bryce Cotton. Adelaide supporters should be very happy. Honestly, I feel like it would have been a little bit of a hurt factor for Perth supporters, because you watch him do that dagger and just, it's not for you anymore, It would have been a weird feeling, but yeah, he looked elite. Obviously, the assist numbers too. You see 6 assists there. And that's what he's really, I think, developed in his game as of recent, is he's become such a scoring threat that it allows him to facilitate the ball, because you have to respect that he can pull up on a dime and he will splash it. So because you're respecting that, because even the guy that's not playing on you, the guy that's an extra player over is so focused on you and potentially help defense, it means Bryce can make these passes. He gets it into Cheatham. He gets it down the Humphrey. He gets it to DJ. I mean, DJ didn't hit any threes. I don't think he had a pretty poor game, but, it allows him to facilitate, and it's just perfect for fantasy. It's so good.
Well, Boz, you mentioned that you got yourself a nice your hands on a nice Bryce Cotton card this week. You would have been pretty wrapped with the performance that you witnessed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's a genuine freak. I just think he just works a lot harder. He's kind of like Steph Curry in a sense where, like, if he doesn't get his shot straight away, he won't stop in the possession. Like, he'll always be running around, always moving. He'll get pass and receive the ball multiple times in a possession. And that's just what makes him that extra bit better than everyone else, I think. Yes, obviously he's a freak in terms of everything he shoots turns to goal, but I think he just kind of, a defender might give him half a second of laps, and then he's off already again, and then the shot's open for him. So I just, watching that game on Sunday, I'm just like, this guy works so bloody hard, and he deserves kind of all the credit that he gets, because he's an insane basketballer. I just want to shout out Cheatham. That was my spicy pick of the week. So
I was going to get to him. I was going to say that I really miss, for some reason, there's blokes that suit jerseys. I used to reckon the pink jersey just used to suit this guy for some reason. It just looked good on Zylan Cheatham. And one of your old blokes, being a big Breakers fan, tell us about him, mate. And you said that you picked him this week. A very nice selection.
Yeah, so I think with Harrell kind of leaving, it made it a lot more easier for me to pick Cheatham, knowing what he can do when he's kind of that second option or even kind of third option. I thought with Montrez in town, he would have maybe slipped down to that fourth option, depending on where DJ, 3J kind of fits each and every game, and that's going to change. Obviously, this game, DJ did nothing, so Cheatham was that second guy up. I know he only scored 8 points, but what he did really well was his rebounding was super. He was crashing the boards like crazy. I think he ended up, I can't really see what it says there, but I think he got something like 16 rebounds or something from memory.
Yeah, well, 3 offensive and 11 defensive, so 14 all up. But 14, 3 of those offensive, which is nice, mate. 5 assists as well, 3 steals. Yeah. It's a solid game.
That's what I was going to touch on, those assists. So what I was noticing is he plays in that high pick and roll with Bryce. So a lot of the time he will have the ball. He will literally just do the smallest little flick off to Bryce, set a screen, and then Bryce has an open shot. And we all know what happens when Bryce shoots. So I realistically think that Cheatham could actually average 3 assists in the NBL this season purely because Bryce is on his team. Now, I know they've just signed another import, and that was something they signed straight away. He is a power forward centre, but I would like to think that I reckon they don't really rate Humphreys at Adelaide. I did notice this last year as well. A lot of the times he got himself in foul trouble, or even in some games, they just put him to the bench. They only wanted to run him out there for 20, 22 minutes a game. So I think that new import maybe impacts Humphreys more than Cheatham. So I'd be really keen to keep rolling out Cheatham week by week.
Beautiful, Vernsy. Any other 36ers that we need to keep on our radars? We've talked about Cotton and Cheatham. Anyone else that's spiking interest whatsoever?
No, honestly, they're not. I'd love to see when the new import gets here what he's like. I believe he's meant to be a big rebounder as well. Might be negative on Cheatham, unfortunately. I do love seeing Cheatham's stat line, though, just seeing that you don't have to score points in this to have a massive GDS effect. There's no extra points for double doubles or anything like that. So if you can just, it doesn't matter if you put the ball in the hole. If you do everything else well, you'll be rewarded. And that's just so satisfying to see. Humphrey is a little bit disappointed, and I actually thought this was going to be a big week for him with Harrell out. Last season when Harrell was out, when him and KD got suspended for those few games, Humphreys was really, really big in those games. And every time, he was the solo center, he's always been really big. So I was really surprised that his input was so little. I don't know if that's going to keep going. Obviously, a new import comes in, so you don't think it's going to get much better from here, unfortunately, from him.
Yeah, unfortunately, isn't it? Not a lot to get excited about, but there are 2 really, really nice options there anyway for us, lads. All right, that was the round that was. Let's take a quick look at the upcoming round. Now, as we mentioned before, United and Sem on the bye. Do not get any of these blokes into your side. So to start off with, we have the Taipans versus the Sixers, the Wildcats versus the Hawks, the Kings versus the Breakers, and then the Bullets versus the Jackies. Now, we did mention before, Boz, you touched on this, that you're potentially looking to target teams that are playing against the Breakers. So that's the Sydney Kings this week. Am I assuming that you're going to be adding some Kings to your squads going into week 3?
Yeah, plenty of Kings for me this week. I think in my starter team, I might actually have Daly and KD as my 2 point guards, to be honest. I know in one league, I think I do have that, just because I think, not kind of putting them against each other. I generally think both of them can score 45 plus just because of how much offense KD should put up and then how many assists Daly should get. So, I wouldn't be against doing that. However, there are other arguments for other point guards from other teams to play. However, you could play PJC, for example. Like, that's my guy. PJC is my man. I just can't trust him at the moment just because of how poor the Breakers are. It's not how bad he is. It's how bad the Breakers are. He should have an extra 10, 15 assists over this season already, but his teammates can't shoot. So if his teammates can't shoot, well, then he's not getting those assist points. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I might change it and back in PJC. Spur of the moment, but yeah, definitely targeting some Kings. In saying that though, KD, Daly, Cooks are probably the only 3. I wouldn't go as far as saying you have to start a Suarez or you have to go and put a Quite Noi on your team. It's obviously those tried and tested guys that we've been speaking about.
Very, very nice. Vernsy, are there any other matchups in particular here that you're fond of? Boz is looking to really target that Breakers matchup. Is there another matchup that really stands out to you?
Yeah, it will be the Sixers versus Taipans. I mean, look, I know Taipans came out. They got the 2 wins this week. It was surprising, to say the least. Would they do it again? I highly doubt it, to be fair. I think Adelaide are going to be real champion contenders. Don't get me wrong. I think Sydney will be as well, but they just were really, really bad on the day. So I think excluding the fact that Adelaide probably have to be pretty bad on the day for Taipans to get up on them, I do think Adelaide should probably run over them. I also don't think they have really any defensive locks. I mean, Marcus Lee is quite a good defensive lock center, but I don't know if they have anyone that can stop Bryce. I don't know if Andrew Andrews can do anything about that. And then obviously McVeigh, the ball goes through him constantly. Him matching up against Cheatham, I don't know if he's going to have the same results he's had in these previous games.
That'll be interesting, won't it? I think the other matchup we can see here, Wildcats versus the Hawks, is this going to be the battle of the big men? McGee versus JLA. I'm really looking forward to that big matchup there. So that could be a battle of the giants there. And then we're obviously finishing off with the Bullets versus the Jackies. All right, lads. I think it is time. Now, Boz, you've done a wonderful job with this, but I think it is time to open up the first of our NBL GDS mailbags. So a big shout out to all the legends that did send through a question this week. This is something we are happy to do each and every week. I might put a tweet out and Boz will get on the Discord and get some questions together, but feel free to reach out. If you do have a question, ask it, tweet it, get it through whoever you want, and we'll do our best to answer it on the podcast for you. So let's get straight into this, boys. Now, we've got the Jont Dog that's going to open up our mailbag for the year. And the question is, can we play both JLA and McGee playing against each other this week? Or will they just outshine the other? Or will one outshine the other? Boz, you're below me. Maybe two parts of the question here. Can we play both JLA and McGee? Or if we can't play both, who are you playing?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think if it was anyone else besides Tyrell Harrison and JLA, I'd say no, you couldn't play both. But I just think there are some bigs that, regardless who their matchups are, they go and get theirs. And we saw that with McGee last week. I didn't think he was going to do what he did, especially against a Will Magnay, who's pretty highly touted defensively, but he went and got his. And that's what JLA does every single week. Like, he's the main man at Perth. He is probably on the most amount of money at Perth. He had so many offers to continue his career in Europe and China and Japan with the big, big monies, but he chose to come to Perth, to come back home. So I don't see a reason why you wouldn't, or if you had only JLA and McGee up your sleeve. I would be, not advocating to play them both, but I wouldn't see an issue with playing both of them, because I just think both of those guys do big man things for their team, and they both need them to succeed to have a good ball game. However, in saying that, there are probably other options at centre that you could choose to go over this week. So, for example, like Harrison up against Tassie. Yeah, Magnay, who just gave up, 32 points and X amount of rebounds to McGee, could be one to target there. So, look, if I had Harrison this week, I'd play him over both of these guys. But if you were only left to JLA and McGee, sure, play them both. I wouldn't have an issue with that.
Great advice. Verns, anything you want to add to that, or anything that you would differ on?
No, I think that's solid. When I was making my teams, I originally put JLA in. I put McGee in, and then I sat there, looked at them and went, they're playing each other, and then contemplated, who else are actually playing? Looked at Harrison and went, this man I don't think's gone below 60 points in any of these 3 games this season. I don't think I can not play Harrison in reality. So yeah. I did give up JLA for Harrison.
Oh, very interesting. But both advocating Harrison there as well, which I think is really, really good advice. All right, Vernsy, who to pick out of the McGee-JLA matchup?
I'm going to go McGee just because of the way Illawarra playing. Everything's through him. And I also think the blocks he got in against Magnay and Bannon, I feel like he could definitely do that again against JLA, who I don't think has much of an outside game if he disrespects it. Saying that the rest of Perth, though, have a really good outside game, and I do expect Illawarra to get quite punished.
All right. Well, Boz, I'm going to give you the next one here. Can you see McGee replicating a similar score?
Well, yeah, we spoke about it before. In the short term, we don't see why he couldn't, because they're heavily relying on him and Tyler Harvey to do pretty much 90% of the work offensively and obviously defensively crashing the glass and things like this. I don't expect him to get that stat line again. However, it could be very close. It could be like a 22, 12 rebound, 2 block, 2 steal game, which will still give you definitely like 60 points. So, yeah, in some way, shape or form, I do see him being able to replicate that.
We'll take it. All right, boys, any word on if Freeman Liberty will play? Any word, boys? Mel's Misfits?
I haven't heard anything.
I saw one tweet by, I think, is it Michael Randall? Was that his name?
Yeah,
Can't really remember. Yeah. He just kind of quoted a tweet saying JFL expected to play. So I think he's trending in the right direction.
Very nice. Beautiful. All right. Izzy, absolute legend, is Xavier Cooks' role diminished this season with the arrivals of KD and Daly? Now, we did talk a little bit about this before. Boz, do you think the role's diminished, or are we not panicking just yet, mate?
I don't want to panic just yet, but I can see especially the assist part of his game diminishing. But hopefully he can kind of put up enough with the points and the rebounds and hopefully get a couple of steals and blocks to kind of maintain the form that he had last season. I think he's too good of a player to not. So, yeah, let's just don't panic just yet.
I like it. Verns, any worry about his ceiling slightly diminishing?
Yeah, no, I think Boz summed it up well. I'm personally going to roll him out this week. Very funny considering, I ran him. The previous week I ran him, got quite punished for it, so the game rewarded me with my common pack giving me a silver Cooks. So I'm going to roll the dice with him again this week, and we'll see how we go.
I like it. We've talked about this. 1 week, absolute dog water. The next week, absolute gold. So yeah, I'm sure he's going to repay the faith for you this week.
That's definitely what Windler did to me, and it's what Tiger Campbell did to me. So, historically, that means Cooks is in for a big one this week, right?
Exactly, mate. Absolutely lock it in. All right, next question from Cash Money. Do we keep backing in Mason Jones or wait to see if he can find some form? Boz, what do you got here for Cash Money?
I think there are better options at the moment. So Bryce Cotton, if you have him, you must put him in your side every time Adelaide play. I also think Freeman Liberty is a better option at the current time, just because Brisbane obviously are only playing about a 7-man rotation, so he's guaranteed to get at least 30 minutes. Look, Mason Jones has been really poor to start the season. I watched an interview with him today saying that, it's quite cliche, but at the same time, it's good to acknowledge that he was saying, I'm my number one critic. I understand how bad I've been playing. I've been putting in heaps more work after practice. Like, if there's anyone that's going to kind of improve, it's me. He spoke about how he's a proven winner everywhere he goes. So he really is confident in his ability. So I do think we will see kind of the best version of Mason Jones at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. But I don't think you can trust him with, the better options that we already have out there until we do actually see it. So I would probably, skip on him for now. But once he does pounce, really back him in to keep that form up.
I like that attitude as well. I like that attitude, glass half full type stuff. Verns, anything to add to that for Cash Money?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll give you a little insight, but I do have him sitting in my contender team right now. Now, look, I only have one Bryce, so that's in my starter team. JFL, I don't like the expectations. We think he's going to play. It's a Saturday game. It's plenty of time for him to be better. But I also talked about it, how I expect Illawarra to give up a lot of 3 balls. And we saw in the preseason game that Mason can shoot the 3 to a high level. So hopefully he can get that together. I'm going to back him in to have a bounce back game this week because I think Illawarra is I think they're going to beat Illawarra.
I like it. Thinking a little bit of strategy there. I like it, Vernsy. All right, next one from Mian Gaming. Windler, Cheatham, Prather, Rankham. All right, Boz, I'm going to go to you first. Now, we've got two of your boys here in Windler and Cheatham. Prather, we've all got love for Casey Prather. Tough question. Is there any way that you can rank these three gentlemen from 1 to 3? 1 being who would you select first, 3 being the bloke that you are just putting aside for now?
I guess we talk about this in two ways. So number one, like this week, how are we ranking them? And then season long. I think every week you've got to look at the schedule and make sure you're targeting players that are versing weaker sides. So if we're looking at this week, I'd have Windler number 1. I'd actually have them in that order there. Windler number 1, Cheatham 2, Prather 3. However, long term, I would actually swap Prather and Cheatham because I do think Casey Prather is needed by Brisbane more than Cheatham is, especially when this new import for Adelaide comes in. Is that going to drop Cheatham's rebound numbers and potentially his minutes overall? And as we know, as I've touched on 1,000 times tonight, Brisbane seem to only want to play 7 people, which means there's at least 31, 32 minutes for Casey Prather each and every week. So long term, I'd actually have Windler, Prather, then Cheatham. But for this week, it would be how it is there.
Like you're thinking. Vernsy, this week, and then any changes in regards to your seasonal ranking?
Yeah, no, I agree with this week. That's actually how I have them ranked, and that's how they put in my team. So, season long though, I feel like putting Windler at 1 is a bit hard in the sense that we've seen his floor. This man can come out and drop 14 like he did to me last week. Cheatham, obviously new import coming in, might be a bit questionable. I'm going to put Prather as 1 for consistency. That man, he's getting 40 points a game every single week. He's always consistent. I'm never feeling like I'm going to get a bad score from Prather, and we are yet to get a bad score this season. He's consistent. So I'd put Prather at 1 because of that. I'm going to put actually Cheatham at 2 because of, I think, ceiling. And then I'm going to put Windler at 3. So, yeah, I just think because of Windler's floor, unfortunately. I think he's the one that can bite you in the butt the most on a bad week.
Both with very, very good reasoning. And the reason why I think you touched on it, Verns, a fan of Prather, is I feel that he's that consistent guy that you can just be safe with and lock in. I feel the other two, they might have a bit of a higher ceiling, but a bit of a higher risk rate to them as well. So really good discussion there, boys. And at this stage as well, keep in mind we're 2 rounds in. It's very, very hard to give rankings at the moment. Maybe in a few more weeks, get some more data in about roles and how things looking forward, may be able to answer that with a little bit more clarity. But very, very nice there, boys. All right, the mighty Hoss is Tiger back on the cards as an option. Gotta love this man's hair or hate it, but it gives you something to talk about anyway. Vernsy, what do you reckon about the Tiger? Is he back? Can we select him in our teams?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can. Look, I feel a bit burnt from week 1, but then we talked about it in week 2. Week 2, he was really good. I do wonder how much of that was just Illawarra's game, though. They were really leaving that 3-ball open and accepting that they were going to get punished by it if they could hit the shots. But I do think Tiger was definitely taking on offense a bit more with Johnson out, which is good. I think in the first few games, he didn't really score the ball. And then, unfortunately, he didn't get too many assists because I think Hamilton likes to do his own thing, sort of catch the ball, do a dribble move, make a move rather than just sort of catch and shoot. And there was many times in that first week that I'd see him catch, have an open 3, and I think this is it. He'd throw a pump fake and then do like a whole fancy mood and then do a fade, and he'd still hit the shot and be like, looks cool, but Tiger could have got an assist. Thanks.
Come on,
yeah. So I think, genuine option. Actually, one I'm tossing up, I think my point guard options, I think KD and Delhi, and then Tiger's like the one that's right behind them that I'm trying to toss up. Do I throw him in? Because will both Kings boys go big? That's the question I'm asking myself there. And is it maybe better to diversify the point guards to try and maybe, I guess, have someone like Tiger, who, to be fair, wasn't terrible in the first weeks, but I think will be better in the coming weeks.
Like it. Boz, any Tiger love?
There's definitely love there. Yeah, he's a decent player. With the Johnson injury, I think it makes it a lot more enticing. So, for the short term, definitely someone you could look to plug into your side. Yeah, it's a tough one. Like, would you pick him over Daly and KD this week? I guess it depends. If you really like him and it's a game you're going to be watching, I'm not against playing this game in a way that you enjoy. Like, I don't mind people that pick players based on enjoyment. And, like, let's be honest, going Daly over Tiger, if you do lose out, it might only be 10 points. So, I know 10 points is a lot in the scheme of things, but at the same time, if it's going to make you enjoy that Tassie game more, why not put him in and see how he goes? Because he definitely showed something on Saturday night.
Yeah. And look, something else I didn't add as well is obviously with Johnson being out, they ran Drimmick on the field. Drimmick is the catch-shoot guy. He's the guy you want to be passing the ball to at the 3 because he's going to just jack it the second he catches it. And I think we saw him hit 3 threes when we looked at the stat sheet earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those were direct assists to teammates because he's just caught and shot. So we do love that when a player's a catch-and-shoot guy. So that's going to help Tiger a lot, I think.
Love that, Vernsy. All right. Our man, the Professor, Janath. He's always got some good ones. Who are the must-have players to invest in each position 2 rounds in? So, boys, I'm just going to ask you, are there any players you think that we need to have non-negotiable? Is Bryce Cotton one, as an example?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. No questions asked. Look, if we're going to take Bryce out of the equation, though, 2 guys that Bryce is obviously a must-have. So is there anyone else? I think Harrison could be a guy. Obviously averaging 65 points. Hasn't, I think, dropped a game below 60 yet. He's been very consistent, playing like 35-plus minutes for the Bullets. And he's really their only center. He's really their only big. So he has to play big minutes. So I think he would be my almost second pick there. Because I think he's going to be consistently very good. And we've seen it already from 3 games. We have a bit more data on him. McGee, you could maybe say like, oh, yeah, he's going to be a must. We've only seen 1 game of data. It might change as the weeks go on, and we do expect it to change. I think Harrison, we've seen 3 games of data, and I don't expect that to be changing at all what's happening in Brisbane. So, yeah, I'd put him as my must-have outside of Bryce.
Like it. Boz, any must-haves in your view, apart from Bryce and Big Harrison?
I was kind of thinking there when Verns was talking, and, it's pretty obvious per position who you should be playing. There's obviously like a top 4 or maybe even a top 3 in every position. But if I was thinking a really scarce position at the moment, and I know we spoke about the small forward position being quite empty, but I think we've found the 3 there. I think we know that Prather, Windler and Cheatham each week, if you can get 2 of those guys in, you're going to be all right. It's more the power forwards at the moment. Like at the start of the year, we looked at Cooks and Doolittle and said, yeah, those 2 are safe as houses, but they've both scored really poorly. So in my opinion, Jack McVeigh is pretty much a must-have in my opinion. I think from what I saw on the weekend, they put everything through him, whether it's to score himself, whether it's to facilitate, and he's really good at passing out of the double team. He's starting to get double teamed heaps. So as long as Wardenberg's out, who would have been a really nice power forward option for us, I think Jack McVeigh is someone that I would definitely be investing in more than just a bronze card, like trying to get a silver or a gold for, you can tend to match up, because that could really set you apart. Because, yeah, he's shown that he can nearly triple-double in some games against quality opposition. So, yeah, McVeigh for me.
Good call. So 3, we think you must have Harrison, McVeigh, Cotton. Then there's a few other blokes, as you mentioned, like McGee, that we just want to see a little bit more data before we commit to the must-have tag, because it's a big tag, boys. You need to get serious when we're talking must-haves here. The best of the best. So there's 3 for you there, Professor. All right, and I think this is the second last question before we finish off our first mailbag for the year. Any updates on PJC's health? Boz is your man. Any updates for us, brother?
Yeah, well, we sat down for coffee the other day, PJC and myself, and I'm only kidding. No, I think he's all right. I think he had a rib issue in the preseason. Look, I think everyone thought that United game something must have happened, but in all honesty, they were getting absolutely pumped, and he actually racked up 3 fouls very quickly into the third quarter. So I think the coach has made the decision just to wrap him up to preserve the body. So look, on the weekend, he played 32 minutes. So that to me screams that he's okay. You're not going to be playing 32 minutes if you are, I think, kind of seriously injured. He might be playing through a bit of a niggle, but as we know in all sports, athletes play through niggles in kind of different places throughout the whole year. So look, I think he's okay. It's just more, I'd be more concerned about not his physical health, but maybe his, how he's going kind of emotionally with that team at the moment, because I'd be pretty upset as well if all the assists I should be getting are not falling. So, yeah, let's hope he can.
Be frustrating for the poor bugger, wouldn't it? So, no major concern on his health, we don't think. Play him at your own peril. And this is the last one that we've got for the mailbag, boys. It's from Dan Dynamos. How explosive is Trez's tell-all interview going to be? Now, he's been putting a few little Easter eggs here and there, but not actually giving away too much. Do you think this is going to be as explosive as what we all think, boys? What do we reckon about this Trez situation in general?
Is it actually confirmed that, like, it's actually going ahead with Jason Kadee? Like, is that confirmed?
I saw the tweet, but I haven't seen anything confirmed beyond that. Verns, have you?
No, I haven't seen anything beyond the tweet.
Because my kind of query would be like, would Jason Kadee want to be involved in Trez, like, bad-mouthing Adelaide? I know Kadee played there for many years, and, like, he's got a bit of a, that kind of veteran reputation that he kind of was there for a long time in his career. Like, I just can't see Kadee giving him the forum to maybe say too much. I mean, if it was a bit more structured in terms of an interview, maybe. But we know Trez, he'll just go nuts. He's already tweeted out 1,000 things and gone on Instagram Live and just gone to town. So I hope it's explosive, but I just can't see Kadee being that kind of facilitator of that. I don't know. That's just me.
It's going to be an interesting one. And look, I think that most fans, their overall feeling is disappointment, because you want a bloke like this playing in the league. It's exciting watching him go around. He's obviously a character. The entertainment factor is absolutely huge. And the drama factor, he always creates headlines and stories wherever he goes, doesn't he? The big monster. But it will be interesting to see what happens, Dan. I have zero idea at the moment, but I think we'll all have the popcorn out when information starts to come out. Boys, first mailbag, I think you did very, very well. Now, I read out most of the questions. I didn't answer too many of them. I left that to the two experts, but agreed on most things, diverged on a couple of things. But what I love was both gave plenty of reasons for those opinions as well. So kudos to you, lads. Fantastic job. All right. I reckon it's time to maybe check out our squads here. Now, Boz, we know that you do have some packs to open as well, which is always exciting to see who you can add to the squad. I might get my starter squad up here at the moment. Might be a little bit hard to see. And after this podcast, there will be changes made. But at the moment, we are running with Doolittle, who I don't love whatsoever, but really struggling in that position at the moment. Harrison, Prather, KD. Cotton, I'm not moving. Then you got Cheatham. Cooks, I'm rolling with again. Now, I've got your man here, PJC. But after all this New Zealand chat, I think that you'll see him out of my squad. McGee there as well, and Hamilton from the Jackies, who, as we said, has just been such a safe option. So I'm pretty happy just to leave him there in my starter squad. So that's what I'm doing for now, boys. But as I mentioned, after this chat, I think I'll be moving a few of these players around. Prather potentially being one of them, because I know we're not huge on him for this particular week. All right. Vernsy, Boz, who wants to go next, boys? Who wants to show their bundle of delight? I've only got the starter here that I'm really running with at the moment, but I know that you boys are dabbling in all three of the other comps, being the starter, the contender, and then the classic, where we're looking at some much better cards there. Does anyone want to go first here?
Yeah, look, I'll jump in for now so we can leave Boz's pack opening and massive team reveal for the end, because we know how successful his team's obviously going right now. So a very similar team to yours, DR. Honestly, when I looked at the two teams, I think the big difference is I'm running Windler over Prather instead, and I'm running Delhi over PJC. I think they're actually the only differences between our starter teams, which is, it fills me with confidence that we're obviously on the same page here. Obviously, Bryce has shown, we know what Bryce is made of. Hamilton's shown that he's a big-time player. We've talked about Harrison, McGee. I'm also running with Doolittle. When I look at this role, I don't feel too confident in many of the other options I have. Honestly, I think Doolittle is probably the best one I have here. I'll be excited for when John Brown gets back. I think he'll be really good in this position. Doolittle's probably the one I have most confidence in.
I'm very similar, mate. Very similar. It's who you've got to select from that particular position at times as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Boz said, that's why he rated McVeigh as a must-have card. It's someone that we're both missing, and I would love to have him to slip him in this week. So very unfortunate there. On the contender team, so I'm not running a classic team as of yet. I believe when you run classic teams, it means you can run classic teams. I don't really have the resources for it, honestly. But yeah, we've got the Silver Cooks that I just unbagged. I'm going to bring Windler back. He got drafted after week 1, and I regret that horribly. But I also think that he'll be good into, obviously, Illawarra, as we talked about. Bannon sort of jumped into this power forward position because I don't have a second Doolittle, and I'm not too excited about it. He is someone that can go big on the boards, though. Like, he will have games where he gets like 14 boards. He just goes nuts. Obviously against Brisbane, so he's old club. I'm hoping for a bit of a revenge game. Hopefully. That's the only logic I've got to sort of make that pick. And then, with the shooting guards, I don't have a second Hamilton or Cotton, so I've run a Jones and a Harvey, really hoping for a Jones bounce-back game here. He showed in the preseason he can do it. As I said, I like the matchup into Illawarra. And then Harvey is probably a weird one in the sense that they're probably going to put, I think, did they get Swaka? No, Swaka Lubula. Who do they have? They have one of the lockdowns, and I forgot which one they have. Detch? Is Detch the one that they now have?
Detch is injured, though, so he won't play.
Oh, he won't play. Okay,
well, that's Mayan, but I don't think he defends too well.
Yeah, I mean, look, Mayan did play on the ball as sort of the 6'6", really big guy in their matchup this week. Who did Perth play into? They played into
New Zealand.
Yeah, and he actually played on PJC, Mayan did, so really put a size difference on him. Wouldn't be surprised if they try and target, obviously, Harvey is the very obvious scoring threat on that team with a defensive player. So Harvey might not be the best pick there, but once again, I'm just not too sure what else I can be picking there. So I decided to run with him because, as we also mentioned, he is 90% of their offense. So...
A pod pick can be the difference maker, Verns, as well. So if someone like a Harvey pops off when not many others are running with him, could be your ticket to success for the weekly anyway, brother. So that is all good, my friend. All right, Boz, time for the newest to the game, but the highest roller out of the three of us currently. Let's see what you have, mate, and pretty excited to see who can also add to your squad for the week.
Just going to get my teams up first, and I might do the packs at the end to see if I, might change around potentially who's in my team. All right, so my starter team, so all bronzes, somewhat similar to you boys. I think Bryce Cotton being a big kind of one there at shooting guard, going to back in KD, Windler, Cooks again, like that is make or break, and then obviously Harrison really, really safe. I have gone for Cheatham over Prather. I've put in Doolittle. Now, I've heard your, displeasure with Doolittle, and I agree. He was actually on about 9 GDS points at 3/4 time on Saturday night, and he just had a massive final quarter. So hopefully that might be a little bit of confidence coming back. At the moment, I've got Daly in the starter team. I think I might have PJC in my contender. I can't remember, but we'll see. So it could be a matter of switching. If I'm not confident on both of these guys going big, I might get PJC in there. I don't know. I'll figure that out. I've gone JaVale McGee over JLA for now. And then Bryce Hamilton, I think, is the obvious kind of second shooting guard there for the week. Pretty nice team on paper, I think.
Nice.
We actually have identical starting teams.
Do you really?
I think that we'll see a bit of that this week, to be honest, because there's only 4 games. So it's like there's not much kind of thought going into those on doubles and things like that. So the contender team. So Jack McVeigh. I've got a silver Windler, a silver KD, and a silver Cotton, and a silver Harrison. So
wow.
I think From memory, yeah, I think I packed only one of these, and then some of the Discord boys have had 2 or 3 of these up their sleeve, and they were very generous in palming them off. So, yeah,
Beautiful.
lucky to get those guys in. I am running Cheatham again. Cooks, PJC at the moment. Hamilton, I got a double of, so I'll play him there. And then I do have a silver McGee as well.
Silver McGee as well, just hiding down there at the bottom. I'm look at these big boys and look, just hiding down the bottom there. A very, very nice silver. That is looking nice, Boz. That is looking very nice, my man.
Absolutely. And I think it's I'm lucky in the sense that it's silvers for the guys I want. So, like, I don't advocate, for example, if we go down here, like, I don't advocate to put, just because you have a Maldonado, I know they're not playing this week, for example, but just because you have a Maldonado, I don't advocate to put him in because he's a silver over a bronze. I think people overestimate the actual difference in one or times 1.0 versus times 1.1. So I would only recommend putting in. Yeah, I'd only recommend kind of putting in those big dog silvers and golds, not just any regular person that you have. And then my classic team, this is where it gets good, but also not great because I haven't got those all-star cards.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, I've got my boy Windler again, my boy Harrison. Yeah, Cotton, silver Adams, gold Cooks.
I can see why you now came 14th.
Yeah. To be honest, looking at this team, I should have been doing better, hey?
Gold JLA.
And then I actually packed the gold JLA, which I packed
so good,
last
man.
week in my rewards from round 1. So I got my 1-3 common pack. So look, I'll be honest, I've been helped out tremendously by a few boys in Discord, but at the same time, I just felt like I was ready to get some good cards to hopefully have a good run at it. So
You're putting the hard work in. You're putting the hard work in building your squad. It's not just about luck here. It's about some blood, sweat, and tears, communicating, getting involved with the community, and the community will be kind and reward you. So, that was so much better than I expected. I thought maybe a sprinkle of a nice silver here and there, but you're rolling extremely well with those golds and silvers, mate. So I'm pumped to see what you're going to unpack here. I'm pumped.
Yeah, so I've got 2 3-player commons, I think, for my rewards this week, which is not too shabby. I'll take that. Obviously, opened the starter picks by myself, but yeah, I guess let's have a look. Praying for some.
Let's go.
Some flair, although it doesn't look like it in my first pack. But we've definitely got a silver, and a gold. All right, so we'll go from here. Okay, Dally. So
I just packed the silver Dally for the week.
So that'll be nice. I think at the moment I've got in my contender, I don't know if I have 100,000 left over, but I might be doing some rejigging there if I think you'll do well. Majok Deng, not bad. I think he injured his hammy. So he injured his hammy on the weekend. And then the gold, Sobi. Okay.
That's a good pull.
I think that's a decent pull.
That's a good
to be fair. Yeah, that's solid. Like, I'm really happy with that. Obviously, I don't really rate Sobi too much, but again, he's proved me wrong again to start the season. He's put up great scores already. And I think
Sim
obviously
lack offensively. So right now, Sobi's doing a lot of the heavy lifting there while still getting steals and whatnot. So
if you're not keen on Sobi, someone else might be. Put him on the trade block for a bloke that you are keen on, and a bit of action there. I like it.
Yeah, very true. But I haven't actually even thought about that, actually. That's a good point. All right, my next pack.
Wowee, that was nice. That was...
Yeah, no flare again, though. That's all right. So silver, all 3 silvers. So let's see.
Hey, that's all right, eh? That's all right.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
This guy, look what is actually happening here.
The pack luck is in. Yeah, no, not really. Bull qual, unfortunately. And then we have Krim Lopez, not bad. I actually don't mind that.
Okay.
Like,
I think
Bryce Hamilton, though, a silver Hamilton.
Oh, yeah.
Gold Sobies, silver Dallies. Like, that's a good, what I'll call it a 6-pack. That is a decent 6-pack, mate. You're drinking well from that.
So if I quickly go to my contender team, I think I've got my full budget, but if I look here, would I be willing to change anyone? To be honest,
I mean, you can move the Silver Hamilton. Would you sacrifice
Do you get
anyone for
Hamilton?
him?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I could run maybe a bronze KD if I'm still not sure about his assist ability, and then run the Silver Hamilton on the bench. That could be something I do. I just think KD's going to put up a big game against New Zealand. That's all.
Do you think Whittler's going to go
Are they
bigger than
playing-
Hamilton?
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm being smart, it probably is play the more consistent Hamilton. But as I said before, I really enjoy watching Dylan Windler in Perth. So I think for me personally, I'd enjoy having Windler. But I mean, I'm pretty happy with those 6
No,
players,
that's
to be honest.
very nice. Very nice, my man. Very jealous. So jealous.
What a way to end. What a way to end. It just goes to show, guys, that if you just play this game every week, you can win these free packs, win the free prizes, continue to build your squad, but make sure that you also get involved in that Discord community. That's where you really want to go for some nice help, some great chat communication. It can really help to build your squad as well. But Vernsy, it's going to be tough catching this, man. It's going to be very, very tough catching. We may need to do a Bradbury type style operation here, but long season, plenty of weeks to go. And who knows, we may be unpacking diamonds and legends and all-stars. Who knows? That's a great thing about this game. But Vernsy, final words for the week, mate, before we say goodbye to this lovely audience.
Yeah. Look, I don't think I'll be catching you in standard, considering our teams are exactly the same right now. But look, it's a blast. I hope everyone enjoys the week, joins the NBL, NBA games. Hopefully that'll be fun. Having United there as well, which is probably our best team in the comp to represent. So I'd love to see them stack up. But should be very enjoyable. So good luck to you all. And
Beautiful, Verns. And Boz, final words from you, mate.
You can find me on Twitter, SCBoz, or even in the GDS Discord. I'm pretty active there at the moment. And I just want to be honest, shout out all those guys I did at the start, because they've made this experience a lot easier for me. The idea was to kind of run it like a poor man's kind of, as they call it, a poor man road to glory, where you just kind of rely purely on packs. But I was just too eager. I couldn't help myself after watching the first round of NBL. So shout out to those boys again for really getting me some solid cards. So thank you.
Love it, mate. And I knew that you would be hooked straight away on this. I knew you'd get your teeth stuck right into it. And sounds like it's only taken a couple of weeks for you to get right in amongst the thick of all the action in all three competitions, mate. So, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you to join the Swordplay family. Could not have asked for a better pair of gentlemen to join us. So thank you again. And a huge shout out to all of our audience as well. Remember, make sure that if you are first signing up to GDS NBL, put in the code word UNITED, UNITED. You win yourself some free packs, just like you saw Boz open then. Make sure you check out the Discord. I'll have that in the link, the video description as well. And until next week, good luck, and we'll catch you soon in the next one. Thanks again, guys. Catch up. Bye.